walk out to the show and fall at your door. We got that info for you. Touchdown on that play and Brian is saying, more than just a podcast for you.
As college and NFL teams become more pass friendly, has the traditional running back position become obsolete?
Can't say that. You got people like Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
You're going to have to give him the ball. Mark Ingram, you got to give him the ball. I mentioned the Alabama boys, but not by purpose, not on purpose. It's reality as those guys really make you got to respect it. And that actually helps the pass game because of those guys. Even the dude at Kenzie, now, I mean, what is we got the name of that team, man, who Patrick Mahomes plays for, right? They got good running backs, but they don't need to do that, because, they can catch the ball in the backfield. Like, the running back is still important. It's still an element of the game that has to be there and has to be respected. Like, I don't think it's gone away. It's just not used as much as usual. The game on the line, trying to run the clock out, you got to have a running back. Right? It's part of the game.
Yeah, and I think the only reason why even it seems like you're running the ball more is because you done changed all the freaking rules to benefit the offense and to benefit the quarterback. You can't touch the quarterback. As a DB, you can't touch the wide receiver. You can't do none of that. So why would you not throw the ball more? So that's the reason. That's the reason why you may see more teams running. Here, I'm gonna go back to Kentucky again. We ain't had no quarterback last year. We had Lynn Bowden, and all we did was run the ball, and we still had a good season. So it just depends. But you can't not have a running game, and still be successful, because you still have to be able to, as a defense, you still have to be able to honor and respect full positions. If you're just throwing the ball all day, and nobody's running the ball, I mean, then you're not. Then I'm getting my DBs is doing wet sues all day, because we know you're getting ready to throw the ball, and we get ready to wet sue you all day.
Yeah, for
real.
We got to be able to run that ball.
We taking, yeah, we're getting interceptions all day because all you're doing is throwing the ball. Yeah,
like
you got to be able to
just physically just pound on somebody for full court. That stuff adds up, and I think that a lot of people are so finesse these days in football. If you got a team that can just kind of grind it out on you like that, like the Titans, for example, with Derrick Henry, they're gonna pound you and they're gonna go over the top of you. That stuff is demoralizing as the game goes on and on and on. And people talk about the Chiefs throwing the ball around, but they do a lot of stuff behind the line of scrimmage. It's not traditional runs, but they got screens, they got option pitch, little small things that they do that resemble the run game that people don't give credit for. And then, but you look up and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is got 100 yards rushing because he's running that ball downhill too. So it works together. Like, you can run to throw the ball, or you can throw the ball to run. But I think every successful offense has some element of being able to run the ball. And if they don't, they have a lot of good screen backs, or they got a lot of creative little things that they do that it's not just necessarily downfield, like with the Patriots that they used to do with their backs, James White and these guys. They do a lot of gadget little stuff that it's not a run, but it's very similar to a run. So I think running the ball, it's never gonna get old.
So let me say this, and this might bleed into the next question, because our Tweener question deals with the running back. I think, Jordan, you're making a really good point that our parents need to catch non-traditional running schemes, hybrids. I think very seldom do we find a true, like, in my mind, I think running back, I think power, run you over. You're not going to find that very much, but you will find the hybrids. And so I think it's a transition. I don't know what this new, maybe we call it tailback again. I'm not sure, but I don't think that there's a lot of true running backs out there. I think that they do some hybrid things. The ones that are the most successful, like your Alvin Kamara's, your Todd Gurley's, like, they're really out there.
Christian McCaffrey.
Yes, Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm.
They're hybrids. They're not traditional running backs. They're used in multiple ways. And so if you look at the power running back that can just run you over and just beat you down, I don't know that we have a lot of those anymore. I don't know that the NFL or even college is utilizing the running game in that manner, unless you have a cushion. Like I do see teams that say, okay, we have a cushion, and so we're going to run the ball, we're going to use the clock. But I just don't, in my opinion, I just don't think that you can't be, unless you're just super powerful like Derrick Henry. He's huge. Like unless you're like a traditional power running back, almost close to a fullback, I think that you have to be prepared to be some type of hybrid.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you though, it's getting scary out here because Najee Harris.
What? I was gonna say the same thing, boy.
That can catch
He's
and run routes.
cold-blooded.
Yes.
Cold-blooded.
That
Oh
boy
my
can
God.
catch the ball and run the ball like Derrick Henry. He's a much better receiver out of the backfield than Derrick Henry ever was or will be. They throwing him fade routes, not screens, fade routes.
And he jumping up, turning around and catching it, bro. Like he
Yeah.
a different dude.
Ugly.
He a different dude.
Out here.
He a different dude.
So, see, y'all making me want to ask: Are we seeing the game evolve? Is Alabama making the game evolve before our eyes?
It's gonna keep evolving. It's gonna keep evolving.
So
I think the players making it evolve. Players are realizing
making it evolve. Yeah.
They realize the game changed, and so now kids are training differently. So now instead of just doing running back stuff, I'm gonna go out here and run routes 2 times a week with the receivers. So now I can do all that stuff.
Which is true. The game is evolving. You know, even with the young dude Jason McClellan, that's at Alabama right now. He's a 2020 guy, freshman. He like ran for 100 yards in 2 games he played in. He only played in the 4th quarters, like minutes left. He just getting the ball, but in the same sense, he caught like 3 passes, you know, and got like positive yards off the passing. Like I think he's right. I think Coach Smith is right. The game is just evolving. That the running back just can't be fast and run somebody over. You got to be able to catch. You got to block. You got to do a lot of different stuff. Now you're just not a running back. You are a player. You everything. You know what I'm saying? You got to do everything and do everything consistently and effectively for you to be, you know, considered a top dog. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think it's evolving to that way because I know, like, even with our son, he plays both sides of the ball. Well, if you're being recruited, that makes you even more recruitable because of the fact that you're multifaceted. You're not just a running back or you're not just a wide receiver. You know, you can play, you know, my son can play safety. He can play DB. I mean, he can play corner. He can play wide receiver. He's on all the special teams. He's on kickoff. He's on punt return. He's on everything. He can do everything. He can run the ball. I mean, he can do everything. And so when you're getting those players that are most of them are going to start evolving that way and marketing themselves to where they're just so more multifaceted because they have to be more marketable. And because athletes are getting stronger and faster and God, these kids are beasts. Everybody gonna start looking like Megatron pretty soon because everybody, you know what I mean? Because you know, if you're not in the gym and you're not looking like a specimen and you're not running a 4.4, 4.3, I mean, you're gonna be left because everybody's getting ready to start running a 4.4. Everybody's gonna be running you know, so it's gonna come to that. So you have to do something to put yourself and set yourself apart from those that aren't, because everybody's getting ready. That's getting ready to be the new norm. Is you're gonna be playing both sides of the ball, and I can put you anywhere on the field.
So let me ask this because this is a really good conversation. So you guys know that we do something on the show called the Tweener question, where we can be really detailed about positions and give parents some tips. So my question for today is, what's the difference between a traditional running back and a fullback? Because we know that high school offenses are distinctly different from collegiate offenses. And then if you have, you know, hopes and dreams of playing in the NFL, different from there as well. So in the high school setting, you may see some parents who have kids who are traditional running backs or traditional fullbacks. Let them know the difference. And then, like we always do, once we talk about the differences, what measurables do they need to work on to prepare for how that position is going to change when they get to college?
Coaches go first. They know more about, well, I know a little bit, but not too much about that position like that.
I just know the fullback doesn't carry the ball as much. They're usually more in more short yardage, 3-and-1s, and that type. They may run the ball maybe 4 or 5 times a whole game. They're mostly used for blocking. Just from my experience, I could be wrong,
right.
But from my experience, the fullbacks is just used mostly for blocking. Every once in a while, maybe 5 or 6 times a game, you can see them run the ball as opposed to the running back just strictly running the ball. And usually the only time the running back is blocking, of course, is if we end up passing the ball at that time, right? And so I just think that as it again, the game is just gonna keep evolving. Everybody's gonna have to learn how to do everything
Right.
on the field, and it's gonna be interesting to see. But to me, that's the biggest difference between the fullback and the running back. Is a fullback is more just of a blocker, and maybe like a decoy if they can't get the ball, real short, small passes and stuff like that. Yeah. What do you think, Coach Jordan?
When I think of fullback, I think of a running back that never made it. No, but every team needs a good fullback. It's a guy that's gonna be a tough guy, a physical guy that not necessarily don't want carrying the ball, but a guy that you want in the run game, because I want a guy that's gonna be able to block. I want a guy that's gonna be able to get out into the flat a little bit. And blocking, a little underrated part of blocking that people don't understand is you don't have to just be strong and physical. You have to understand where the holes is. You're leading as a fullback. You're leading a lot, so you got to have good vision as a fullback as well. So a lot of times it's running backs who got bigger, running backs who you don't want to carry the ball the whole game, but also backs who are a little bit more physical. So and then you got your running back who, take your pick. You got a lot of different types of backs too. Some backs who you want to use on just third down. Some backs who can go all three. So it just fullbacks are just, you're not going to touch the ball much. It's not going to be a glorious position, but a position that kind of like the offensive line that everybody on the team knows you really doing your job, but you ain't going to get a lot of credit for it, but you're going to have to be physical and ready to kind of get after it.
So me, I go out and I had to ask about this position in the questions. So traditionally, you guys are right. The fullback is bigger. They're the lead blocker. They're making the hole. So good vision is actually necessary. If you're a parent listening to this and you say, oh, my son wants to play fullback in college, you're going to look for a triple option offense. And I'm going to be honest, not a lot of them get played in college. You're going to be going to Army, Navy, Air Force. It's a very few service academies, obviously, use the triple option because they are more, just to be honest, you have to do more with less when you're going to a service academy. So just be mindful, parents, that fullback bigger, they make the hole, they lead first. You have to be effective at blocking. Like Jordan said, you have to have very, very good vision. A lot of short situations, you're trying to just power through to get short yardage. So be mindful of the wear and tear on your child's body. If you say, okay, my child is at fullback in high school and we still want to play fullback in college. Like my cousin played fullback at UT. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's possible, but just know the wear and tear on the body. And then running backs coming up. It's really interesting to see the discussion of the running back now becoming like this big umbrella, tailbacks, halfbacks, scatbacks. Like there's all this little stuff that they stuff in. But like what I found that from a measurable perspective, parents, running backs can be small and shifty, agile, really, really fast, or they might be like your Derrick Henrys, that's just a beast and they thick with it. So just be mindful that there's more variation. And there's more room for running backs to have a different body type as opposed to a fullback. And if your kid, to everybody's point, is versatile, if they can catch, if they can cut, if they can still block, if they have good vision, definitely when you're looking at your child in high school as a running back, take inventory and see how their measurables translate to, like, what if he's asked to be the tailback? What if he's asked to be the halfback? What if he's asked to be a scatback? These are just all the different terms that offenses are out there using. So definitely we'll need some versatility. It's so funny. One of the things that I learned from the show, but I didn't expect it, is that the need for high school athletes to be able to be versatile, the need for you to be like plug and play. It's like wherever on the field I can put you. Like I didn't really understand that need when we first started asking this question a few months ago. I really thought, oh, we were going to find out like what do we start with, Randy? Like what DBs or something? I forget what we started the question with, but like I really expected for people to say safeties or safeties, linebackers are linebackers. But when you go out there and do the research, and when you look at how players are asked to do certain things in college versus the NFL, I hope that the parents who listen to the show, especially if your child plays football, you're understanding that there's no pure anything anymore.
Right. Well, I know me growing up, when it comes to fullbacks, you know, the only one I ever known that was legitimate, I can say the epitome of a fullback, was Mike Allstott at Tampa Bay. You know what I'm saying? Because he actually could catch, he could block, and he could run. He could do everything. So therefore, if your child's looking at being a fullback, just know he got to block, got to have vision, he got to run, Mike Allstott actually ran outside, ran screens and everything at the fullback position there. I think he epitomized what is needed from a fullback and what it is. I think that he was that deal. But for the most part, when it comes to, like you said, Miss Cleveland was like, the positions are evolving. Alabama uses a tight end, Billingsley, as a fullback. He goes through and make holes for the running back for Najee, and they use Leonard Forrestall. They use anybody that knows anything about get through the hole and block it to be that fullback or that position that holds that position, that way. So I don't think you got to actually be a running back type guy. I think that you can have knowledge of the game and what's needed, and you can play that position. You can play tight end, you can play running back, you can do anything as long as you have the knowledge and understanding of what is for the purpose of a fullback. Then you can do it. Then you be good.
That's a great point. I've yet to see, since they started ranking players, I've yet to see a 5-star fullback ever. True. So they're not signing fullbacks; they signing ball players. If you're a linebacker who don't play and you want to get on the field early, maybe you flip over and do some certain situational stuff and play fullback. So even if you're a defensive player, it's something that kind of a linebackers usually pair with fullback. You're a linebacker type body, you can flip over and play some fullback, or like he said, tight end. So, being versatile and being able to play multiple positions, that's how you get on the field early too. They ain't recruiting fullbacks. Like, hey, I'm going to school, they look at fullback. That ain't right. Because high schools ain't running that. High schools are copying a lot of what college do, and college copy what high school do, and it's a lot of spread offenses. It's not many fullbacks being used in high school football either, unless you triple option type teams.
Or I formation. Nobody running I formation like that no more. Right. That's usually how I started. I know with Tampa Bay, they had an I formation. Mike Allstott go through, truck through, work done, go eat. Period.
Lorenzo Neal, man, the Titans. I remember
exactly.
The Titans. That's it.
Exactly.
See, parents, we're trying to help you so that you can get to the next level. So let me ask, we've been talking about college and offense. Who's the best offensive coordinator in college football right now?
Sark.
Sark.
See?
Sark.
That's why I mess with you.
I went back and forth on this one, but he's the first one that I thought about. But then my next one would be Coach Browse over at Arkansas. What he's doing with their offense, flipping them around, and he got Felipe Franks. Not to talk bad about him, but I mean, Florida said, we good. They kicked him to the side for a kid who never started.
Yeah.
So I think Coach Browse doing a good job at Arkansas, but Sarkisian, he know what he's doing. He's gonna have a head coaching job here soon again.
I hope not.
Hey,
y'all gonna have Butch Jones out there calling play.
He's gonna have a head coaching job here pretty soon. They always do.
Yeah, he gonna probably be coaching at this head coach him. Why not?
Right.
Why not? Them shoes you already filled. You've been a head coach before, and why not? When you know good well, you get the talent that you need to stay successful.
I think Alabama's next coach is Dabo Swinney.
Ooh, no.
Ooh. Hey, don't forget where he played college ball at. Don't forget where he played college ball at now.
Yeah, but Dabo, I'm about to say something unpopular, and I don't care. Dabo Swinney does not stand up for his players, nor does he take care of his players the way that Nick Saban does. He just doesn't. And I think
that's some big shoes to fill, bro.
Saban set the standard. I remember him talking about it was some kid that they wanted him to dismiss. Frankie Rob, you talked about this earlier, how he doesn't throw
the
his
dude
players
from Michigan
away.
State. Michigan
He'll-
State who got in trouble, and they was like, man, cut him, man, he sucks. But now this dude here, I forgot his name, Musa Muhammad, I believe it is. You know what I'm saying? Where he got in trouble off the field, and everybody was in Michigan State was telling him to fire him, get him out of here. And he was like, why? And now this boy here got a daughter going to Harvard, a son playing in the pros. You know what I'm saying? If he'd have been kicked out of that school, this generation or his generation from his children wouldn't be who they are. He got a daughter full ride to Harvard because of their education level, not because of sports, for smarts. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I do this, dude, man.
I mean, Dabo, don't get me wrong, he gets his W's, but I don't care what y'all say, he is the most shallow, inconsistent. I have words. Let's just say that I would not want my kid to play for him, because when it's really time to stand up for his players, I don't see that. I really don't see that. I really, really, really don't see that. Like
I kind of heard that. I kind of heard that about Saban as well. I'm not sure how again, I don't have nothing. I heard it from somebody that's a coach in the system that I talked to about getting advice from my son. Because again, we're told SEC we want to go to Kentucky, but of course if Alabama comes calling, I'm probably gonna lose out. I ain't gonna lie, we're gonna probably lose out to Alabama, because he's gonna want to go to wherever the best of the best, right? But I heard that Saban was the same way. But again, I don't hear about no drama. Everybody still keep going. I mean, there's a reason why everybody goes. So you can't, I can't go by what people say. I think Saban is doing what he's supposed to do at the school, and he's providing those kids with the opportunities that they're supposed to, and he's got to be taking care of them some kind of way. And I don't hear about the recruiting violations. So I don't know.
Nick Saban is definitely not warm and fuzzy. Nick Saban is.
You don't need no violations when people want to go there. You ain't got to pay.
Exactly. Yeah, because you ain't got to pay him, and you ain't got to pay him.
But I can tell you something that actually got me and my son, besides the Musa Muhammad situation, because we talked to Nick Saban. I talked to him. It's my baby. You feel me? Yeah, he 18, but he's still my son for the rest of his life. He'll be my son regardless, right? So it was a guy that was going there. He played a couple games his freshman year. He got in the game and played a couple games, but then he started messing up off the field. I know for sure that the dude couldn't play at Alabama because of grade issues, could have been drug issues, could have been a lot of things that I know if I could say on this right now.
Right.
But in the same sense, is a dude that was really just like struggling with changing from high school being the dude to coming to college, and you're just another guy. You're not that guy. Even though he got in the field and played, he did his thing, but it really wasn't, what he expected to get from the situation. And instead of them just booting the dude out, and like they said, they scored him out the door. Nah, Coach Saban actually called the school for this boy. I know this for sure, for fact, on everything I love. Called the school for him, was like, you know what? He's not right now ready for this school. Could you take him? And they took him. And right now, the boy made big plays last year. And this is why I was like, myself, like, Dad, I'm thinking about Alabama, even though we hated them for so many years. But when I heard that story and I talked to the dad myself, he was like, man, that dude's a good dude. He looked out for my son, got my son here. My son did this, did this, did this. And I know good well, I'm his dad. I would beat him for this. I would say you're done for this. You know what I'm saying? Because I got the next man up, next man up situation going on anyway. But he actually looked out for that boy. Looked out for him. He's somewhere else now playing ball. He actually did his thing. So any parent that I ever talked to about this dude, he came to my house, sat down. He didn't have to. Came here and told me, hey, look, told me the truth. Your son can go somewhere right now. He'll probably get on the field and start the first year right now. But what I can tell you is the fact that your son come here, he may sit the bench, maybe depends on how long Job and them stay here. You could sit, but what I know he gonna do is learn. But when he get in the field, he could be the best form of himself ever. I bought that. I love that, and it's true. End of the day.
I know I took us on a tangent, but he's my favorite, and the reason I like him is because he learned from failure. He failed, crashed and burned at Miami as a pro coach. Like, He was awful. But he took everything that he learned in Miami, came to Alabama, and has consistently produced NFL ready product every
He went to LSU first.
no, but no, he was in LSU. Then he went to Miami.
Then he went to Miami. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he went to Bama. So like
Yeah,
he
because that's
was
why he left LSU was so he wanted to try to go pro. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. He was in LSU and got that championship with them. Right.
Yeah.
like so I look at that. Like I like people who fail. You know what I'm saying? And don't just fake the funk. He's like, I jacked that. But he took what he actually learned in Miami as a professional coach. And I believe that's why Alabama, like that's one of the few schools that every year they're gonna have at least one or two players that play as rookies. It's one of the few schools. And don't take my word for it. Go out and do the research if you're one of the listeners. And so it appeals to me when people can learn from failure. That's something I posted on my social. It's never an L if you learn from it. And I like it when people, when they say, okay, I failed. You can't, the record was terrible. I wasn't a good NFL coach, but I took what I learned and I came back and I made my students better. So that's why I like him.
As Will Smith would say, he called it failing forward.
Right.
Very few coaches do that. Like this is, and I know I'm going to take us on a tangent, then I'm going to take it to question 8. One of the things that irks my soul as a parent of an athlete is that coaches don't accept responsibility for their failures. Just say, I'm trying to run a scheme that my athletes don't fit. Say that. Say that. Just say, I don't know how to make adjustments. I don't know how to make adjustments. I know I'm the head coach, but I don't know how to make adjustments. And I'm not humble enough to bring somebody else in.
That's so good.
Who knows how to make an adjustment. And so for me, when I look out at the world, I say football is chess with people. And a lot of coaches don't know how to play chess, and they're not willing to go out and say, well, dang, I'm terrible at chess. Let me go hire him because he's good. And so kids, they blame kids. Well, we didn't win because the kids didn't. No, you didn't win because you're trash and you don't know how to make adjustments. And you're not humble. But so I said all that to say, I appreciate coaches that fail publicly and they don't. Like, I've never seen him blame the players at Miami. He was like, I wasn't good. And so that doesn't happen, maybe in the states that I've lived in, maybe it's just different and it might be different in other places, but I don't find coaches at any level who are humble enough to say, I really jacked this. I don't know what I'm doing. Let me go get some help. That's just how I feel.
As a young coach, man, I try to do that because the players respect that. I mean, there was a situation I remember this year where I thought they were lined up in the wrong formation, and I'm sitting here yelling across the field, what are we doing? Boom, boom, boom. The whole team looking at me, and I'm like, that's me, my bad. That's all you gotta say. I messed up, let's go.
You're right.
I messed up. And it just humanizes you as a coach and it's like, okay, you made a mistake. I did the same thing. Let's move forward.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we had this year too. We had a lot of, I think maybe about halfway through the season, we were going through some things, and then I was like, you know what? They don't know what the heck we talking about. I said, we got to go back.
Yeah.
I said, because we're telling them and we're jumping on them. We're mad about something and they're looking at us like deer in the headlights. I said, babe, I'm realizing that we got to go back and go back to fundamentals. They don't know the freaking fundamentals. And we had to apologize to them that, again, because of COVID, we didn't have that first 3 weeks of preparing them like we had in the past. And so we kind of jumped to where we thought we should have been, whereas we really need to go all the way back to the very fundamental. This is a football. I mean, we got kids that they're coming from Pop Warner, they're coming from, and the coaches are some dads that really, that are living vicariously through their kids, and they really don't really know nothing about no football, right? And so we had to kind of be, so we had to kind of take a step back and be like, God, my bad. Let me show you what I'm talking about when I'm asking you to do this particular reason, and walk them through that process. And we had to kind of take a step back because we forgot that we were 3 weeks in, that we missed of 3 weeks of education and preparation that we've had in the past that we didn't have this year. Yeah. you got to be able to be humble yourself and be like, you know what, I'm wrong. I went through this whole thing all wrong.
That's true.
And be humble as a coach. You have to. I'm gonna tell you who I can't stand the most that's like that is never mind.
Oh, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
Okay.
You do it.
Okay,
Now you backpedaling. You a DB.
I'm gonna say I'm at where am I at? I'm at Kentucky, right? So Coach Cal is like that. Coach Cal just lost to Notre Dame yesterday. And so the first thing he does is he blames, oh, they're young, you know, we got a whole new team. No, you can't make no freaking adjustments in a game, bro.
Which is true.
You can't
They got
make
good
no
enough players to
adjustments
beat
in a
Notre Dame.
game. You got too many good players that you get every year, year after year, year after year. Ain't no reason why you shouldn't have 5 championships because you cannot make adjustments in the game. He hasn't even learned from the first season he was here. We were in the Final Four. Remember, that was when we had John Wall and Boogie and all them, right?
Yep.
Right. We was loaded. You know, so you're in a game with West Virginia going, and they're in a 1-3-1, and you're not in a 2-guard offense. Dude, you can't line up on a 1-3-1 offense and going against a 1-3-1 defense, and then one guy up front, and you still got 2 people on the wing. No, you got to go to a 2-guard offense, and you got to put 2 people down on the box. Come on now, you know. So I'm thinking none of your coaches don't notice that either. You know, and what I'm saying is that here it is, 10, 13 years later, and he still has not learned to be able to make those adjustments as a coach. He has his scheme. This is what we run. We run our dribble drive defense. This is what we do, and he never makes adjustments.
It's on a tangent. I'll bring us back.